There is a reason some men rise quickly and others struggle for decades. The difference is not luck, not connections, not even intelligence. It is the mind they fall asleep with. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you will enter the thought patterns that create millionaires. Wealth will no longer feel distant, it will feel inevitable. You have lived too many nights rehearsing scarcity in your mind. Quiet worries about bills, quiet doubts about the future, quiet comparisons to people who seem to advance faster than you. These thoughts have shaped your identity more than you realize. A man cannot out-earn the beliefs he holds while drifting into sleep. Tonight you will replace those beliefs. Think about this carefully. Every millionaire you admire once spent nights imagining a future no one believed in but them. They allowed their subconscious to build the blueprint. They rehearsed success mentally long before it appeared physically. They trained their minds to attract wealth while they slept. And you are about to do the same. Picture yourself lying in the dark, your breath slowing, your body softening. This is the moment your subconscious opens wide, receptive, eager for instruction. What you tell it now becomes your emotional reality tomorrow. Most people speak fear into their subconscious. Tonight, you will speak wealth. The mind of a millionaire is not a mystery. It is a pattern, definite thinking, bold expectation, calm confidence, relentless vision, neutrality toward failure, certainty around money. These are not traits, they are habits. Habits that your mind will begin installing as you sleep. But first, you must confront the beliefs that have held you back. The belief that building wealth takes a lifetime. The belief that you need perfect timing. The belief that money only comes to those with advantages you do not have. These beliefs have been quietly robbing you of your potential. Tonight, they dissolve. As you listen, you will feel a shift in your emotional state. Fear loosens, tension fades, your mind becomes spacious. These feelings are not random. They are the subconscious accepting a new identity, a wealth identity. Let me ask you honestly, how many opportunities have passed because you didn't feel ready? How many ideas have died because you underestimated yourself? How many times have you spoken less boldly than you felt? None of this was caused by lack of ability. It was caused by a subconscious that was never trained for wealth. Tonight, you train it. Imagine waking tomorrow with the calm certainty of someone who knows wealth is forming for him. You won't wake desperate, you will wake aligned. You will think differently. Choices that once scared you will feel natural. Opportunities that once intimidated you will look small. This is the power of subconscious wealth programming. Your conscious mind tries to improve your life by force. Your subconscious improves your life by design. Through identity, through expectation, through self-concept. When the subconscious accepts that you are the kind of man wealth belongs to, wealth begins moving toward you, and this acceptance happens fastest while you sleep. But I must warn you, this process only works for the man who truly listens. Not casually, not distracted, not half-hearted. You must listen with the seriousness of someone who is tired of being the lesser version of himself, because the mind you bring into sleep becomes the life you wake into. Let me give you a vision. You walk into a room weeks from now, and something is different. People look at you differently, they sense presence, you speak with precision, your decisions carry weight, you do not shrink, you expand. This shift is not created through effort, it is created through identity. This is what a millionaire mind feels like. Confidence is not louder, it is clearer. Wealth thinking does not rush, it directs. It sees opportunity where others see risk. It sees leverage where others see limitation. It sees timelines not in years, but in decisions. Tonight, your mind adopts these qualities. As you drift deeper, you will hear words that strengthen your inner state, expectations that rewire your emotional responses, commands that reshape the relationship between you and money. The subconscious will accept these commands without debate. It does not need explanation, it only needs repetition. Allow that repetition to work on you. You will notice the first signs tomorrow morning. A clearer vision of what you want, a quieter mind around money, a stronger posture, a desire to act, a confidence that surprises even you. These are the early signals that the millionaire mind is being installed. In a few days, your decision-making will shift. The hesitation you've carried for years will weaken. You will feel pulled toward action instead of pushed. Ideas will arise naturally. Plans will form easily. Your intuition will strengthen, because a millionaire mindset does not rely on fear, it relies on alignment. Let your mind sink into this truth. Wealth is a mental state before it is a financial state. Money follows identity. Opportunity follows intention. Success follows certainty. And tonight, certainty will be programmed into you. Feel your breath deepen. Feel your body soften. Feel the weight of past financial fears melting away. You are entering the state where new realities are built, where the next version of you begins forming. Tonight, you fall asleep with the mind of a millionaire. Tomorrow, you rise with thoughts you've never had before. And soon, you will be living in a life your old self could never have created. Close your eyes, drift into alignment, and let wealth begin its work. Sleep now and program the mind that attracts everything you desire. I have studied the lives of men who accumulated great fortunes and the far greater number who did not, and I have observed one distinction that outweighs all others. The man who rises does not merely work differently by day, he thinks differently by night. The thoughts he allows to escort him into sleep quietly shape the conditions he awakens into. Most men do not know this. They lie down each night carrying the weight of worry, rehearsing shortages, replaying mistakes, and predicting hardship. They do not realize they are issuing instructions to the most obedient servant of the mind. The subconscious does not judge these thoughts. It records them and proceeds to build accordingly. A man cannot outgrow the mental climate he cultivates while resting. The body sleeps, but the mind continues its labor. It organizes circumstances, directs attention, and prepares responses. If it is fed fear, it prepares for fear. If it is fed expectancy, it prepares for opportunity. This is why wealth so often appears accidental to those who do not understand its laws. They see the result but never observe the process. They do not see the countless nights a man spent dwelling upon possibility instead of limitation, order instead of chaos, certainty instead of doubt. Wealth begins as a decision long before it becomes a condition. I have never known a man to drift into riches. Drift carries men in the opposite direction. Wealth is always the result of directed thought, and directed thought must be impressed repeatedly upon the subconscious mind until it becomes familiar, accepted, and finally unquestioned. The mind you fall asleep with becomes the mind you live from. When a man accepts this truth, he stops treating night as mere rest and begins treating it as preparation. He understands that sleep is not an escape from life, but a meeting with the forces that shape it. The wealthy man differs from the poor man not in desire, but in expectation. Desire hopes. Expectation assumes. The subconscious responds only to what is assumed. It ignores what is begged for. For years, many men unknowingly train themselves to expect difficulty. They expect money to be hard to earn, slow to arrive, and quick to depart. These expectations are not shouted aloud. They are whispered inwardly, night after night, until they become accepted as truth. Truth, once accepted, governs behavior. Behavior shaped by scarcity produces scarcity. This law is exact and impartial. I have seen men of modest ability accumulate great wealth because they learned to expect it calmly, and men of superior talent remain poor because they never corrected their inner assumptions. Talent without alignment exhausts itself. Alignment multiplies even ordinary effort. The mind of a millionaire is not excited about money. It is settled with it. This settlement begins when a man decides that wealth is not an accident, not a miracle, and not reserved for a favored few, but a lawful outcome of certain mental habits faithfully maintained. One of these habits is definite thinking. The wealthy man does not think vaguely about money. He does not say someday or hopefully. He thinks in terms of amounts, purposes, and direction. His thinking is clear enough that the subconscious can act upon it. Vague instruction produces vague results. Clarity produces movement. Before Andrew Carnegie became known to the world, he was an ordinary man by outward measure. Yet inwardly, he had already accepted the idea that wealth was his proper field of operation. He did not merely wish to be rich. He thought, spoke, and rested as though accumulation were natural to him. This inward acceptance preceded all outward evidence. Others could not see it, but they responded to it. Men trusted him. Opportunities came to him. Circumstances aligned themselves around a man who had already decided where he was going. This is the power of identity. Money responds to identity more quickly than it responds to labor. Labor without direction scatters effort. Identity gathers it. You are now training identity. As you rest and listen, the mind is learning to become familiar with wealth thinking. Familiarity removes fear. Fear is the chief enemy of accumulation. Fear causes men to hesitate, to retreat, and to sell themselves cheaply. A man who fears money cannot hold it. Fear creates tension. Tension repels opportunity. Calm attracts it. The wealthy man is calm around money. He does not panic at its absence, nor become reckless in its presence. This calm is not inherited. It is trained. Training occurs through repetition. Night after night, the same expectations must be impressed until they feel ordinary. When wealth feels ordinary, behavior adjusts to support it. You may notice, even now, a subtle change in how money-related thoughts arise. There is less urgency, less emotional charge. This is the beginning of authority. Authority over money begins with neutrality. Neutrality allows judgment. Judgment allows wise action. Wise action produces accumulation. Others sense this authority instinctively. They trust men who are not ruled by fear. They offer opportunities, partnerships, and responsibility to those who appear composed. This is why people will begin to see you differently as these habits take root. They will notice that you speak with more precision, that you do not shrink from financial discussion, that you do not apologize for ambition. Ambition guided by clarity does not offend. It attracts. At night, when resistance softens, these ideas move beyond thought and settle into assumption. Assumption is the language of the subconscious. You are not forcing belief. You are allowing belief to form. The difference is important. Force creates rebellion. Allowance creates acceptance. As acceptance forms, you will notice changes in posture, tone, and decision. These are not cosmetic. They are structural. Structure governs outcome. You are building structure now. Let the mind rest in this understanding. Wealth is not pursued. It is permitted. It comes to the man who has prepared himself to receive it without fear. Repeat this inwardly, without strain, as fact. I am becoming familiar with wealth. Money responds calmly to me. I think clearly about value and direction. Opportunity recognizes me. Accumulation feels natural to me. These are not wishes. They are instructions. The subconscious will obey them if they are repeated without contradiction. Contradiction weakens instruction. Calm repetition strengthens it. Nothing more is required tonight. The first foundation has been laid. Rest now in the certainty that the mind you carry into sleep is already shaping the life you will awaken into. Before wealth can be accumulated, the mind must be cleared of false instruction. Many men fail not because they lack ability, but because they unknowingly carry beliefs about money that were never examined. These beliefs were absorbed through repetition, example, and circumstance, and they now operate as silent governors over thought and action. A belief accepted without question becomes law within the mind. Most men were taught, directly or indirectly, that money is scarce, difficult to obtain, or reserved for others. They heard it spoken in homes, observed it in the conduct of elders, and felt it in the atmosphere of caution that surrounded every financial decision. These impressions settled quietly into the subconscious and began directing behavior long before the man was aware of them. The subconscious does not ask whether a belief is useful. It asks only whether it is familiar. Familiar beliefs feel true. This is why so many men sabotage opportunity without knowing why. They hesitate, delay, or withdraw, not because they lack courage, but because their deeper mind associates money with danger, loss, or struggle. The moment opportunity appears, fear rises, and fear always counsels retreat. Fear of poverty is the most destructive of all fears because it disguises itself as caution. Caution says, wait. Fear says, avoid. Wealth requires neither waiting nor avoidance, but judgment. Judgment cannot function where fear rules. The wealthy man does not lack fear by birth. He has trained himself to remain calm in the presence of money. Calm allows him to see clearly. Clear sight reveals opportunity where fear sees risk. This calm must be learned. I have observed that men who accumulate wealth treat money as a tool rather than a judge. They do not measure their worth by their bank balance, nor do they allow temporary shortage to define their future. This neutrality preserves their judgment. Judgment preserved produces advantage. Most men allow money to provoke emotion. Emotion clouds judgment. Clouded judgment leads to error, and error reinforces fear. The cycle repeats itself until poverty feels inevitable. This cycle can be broken only by removing emotional charge from money. Removal occurs through understanding and repetition. When a man begins to view money as obedient to law rather than as a source of anxiety, his entire posture changes. He no longer panics when money is absent, nor becomes reckless when it is present. He uses it deliberately. Deliberate use attracts more. Money moves toward order. It avoids chaos. I have known men of modest income who handled money with such order and calm that opportunity sought them out. Others, with greater income but disordered thinking, repelled it constantly. Income alone does not create wealth. Mental discipline does. One of the most damaging beliefs a man can carry is the belief that wealth requires perfect timing. This belief breeds delay. Delay feeds doubt. Doubt invites fear. Fear ensures stagnation. The wealthy man does not wait for perfect conditions. He acts when conditions are workable. He improves them through action. Action clarifies. Clarification removes fear. Fear removed restores judgment. Henry Ford was repeatedly told that his ideas were poorly timed. He did not argue. He proceeded. His mind was not ruled by consensus, but by certainty. This certainty did not arise from arrogance. It arose from repeated inner alignment. Alignment steadies action. Another belief that must be dissolved is the belief that money belongs to those with advantages one does not possess. This belief poisons ambition. It causes men to underestimate themselves before they begin. Underestimation is self-imposed poverty. The subconscious accepts underestimation as instruction and proceeds to enforce it. Men who rise rarely believe they are special. They believe they are capable of learning, adjusting, and persisting. Capability expands through use. It does not precede it. Money responds to men who see themselves as expandable rather than fixed. Fixity resists growth. Expansion invites it. As these false beliefs loosen, you may notice a change in how financial thoughts arise. They become less charged, less urgent. This neutrality is not indifference. It is control returning to its rightful place. Control begins inwardly. When a man controls his reactions to money, he controls his results with money. Others will sense this control without being able to explain it. They will feel that you are not desperate, not rushed, not uncertain. This perception alone alters how they interact with you. Men are drawn to calm certainty. Calm certainty invites trust. Trust opens doors that effort alone cannot open. This is why wealthy men often appear fortunate. Their fortune is simply the result of being trusted repeatedly. Trust cannot be demanded. It is sensed. As you rest and listen, the mind is being trained to release inherited beliefs that no longer serve you. You are not rejecting your past. You are refining it. Refinement removes excess fear. Fear removed restores balance. Balance sharpens judgment. Judgment applied consistently produces wealth. Repeat these thoughts inwardly, without emotion, as settled fact. I am calm around money. I think clearly when opportunity appears. I do not fear temporary shortage. I trust my judgment. Money responds to order and purpose in me. These statements are not affirmations shouted into the void. They are instructions delivered calmly to the subconscious. Calm instruction is obeyed. As these beliefs settle, you will notice that opportunities no longer intimidate you. They will feel manageable rather than overwhelming. This shift is critical. Opportunity avoids the man who fears it. Fear signals unreadiness. Calm signals preparation. Preparation attracts opportunity. Nothing further is required tonight. The second foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as fear loosens its grip, clarity and opportunity will naturally move closer. One of the most decisive shifts a man makes on the road to wealth occurs when he stops thinking of himself as a seller of time and begins thinking of himself as a producer of value. Time is limited. Value is not. Men who remain bound to the measurement of hours can never accumulate beyond the narrow confines of the clock. The wealthy man understands this instinctively, even if he never names it. He measures his worth by usefulness, not by duration. He asks not, how long did I labor, but how much advantage did I create? This distinction alters every decision he makes. Most men have been trained to trade effort for wages and to feel satisfied when the trade is complete. This training conditions the subconscious to expect only linear reward. Linear reward caps income. Wealth is nonlinear. It multiplies. Multiplication responds to value. Value is created when effort produces results that outlive the moment of labor. When a man improves a system, strengthens a relationship, or solves a recurring problem, he has created value. That value continues working long after his hands have rested. The subconscious must be trained to recognize this difference. Until it is, a man will unconsciously limit himself, offering only what is required and withholding what would make him indispensable. Indispensability is the doorway through which wealth enters. A man who is easily replaced cannot command abundance. The wealthy man does not ask how little he can give without penalty. He asks how much he can give to secure position, influence, and opportunity. This habit does not exhaust him. It empowers him. Giving value is not charity. It is positioning. I have known men who began with nothing more than ordinary positions and ordinary wages, yet who rose rapidly because they adopted the habit of delivering more usefulness than was requested. They did not do this to be noticed. They did it because their identity demanded excellence. Identity governs output. When a man sees himself as valuable, his conduct reflects it. He looks for ways to improve outcomes, to save time, to reduce waste, to increase effectiveness. These acts attract attention not because they are dramatic, but because they are rare. Rarity creates demand. Demand commands reward. This principle was understood by Charles M. Schwab, whose value to the steel industry far exceeded the hours he could personally labor. His worth lay in his ability to organize men, inspire confidence, and increase efficiency. His compensation reflected his value, not his time. The millionaire mind does not resent effort. It resents waste. Waste is effort applied without leverage. Leverage arises when effort is directed toward results that multiply themselves. Teaching others, improving methods, strengthening systems, these acts produce leverage. Leverage attracts wealth naturally. Most men resist this shift because it requires responsibility. It demands that a man look beyond his immediate task and consider the broader effect of his actions. This responsibility is not burdensome. It is liberating. Responsibility expands influence. Influence expands opportunity. Opportunity expands wealth. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to recognize value opportunities instinctively. You will begin noticing where small improvements produce large effects. This awareness does not come through strain. It comes through calm observation. Observation reveals leverage. Leverage rewards initiative. Initiative separates wealth builders from wage earners. The wealthy man does not wait to be instructed in value creation. He assumes it is expected of him. This assumption guides his conduct without effort. Assumption is more powerful than instruction. When you assume you are meant to contribute value, the subconscious begins arranging thoughts, ideas, and actions accordingly. You will find yourself thinking beyond the immediate task, seeing connections others overlook. These insights are not accidents. They are the result of identity alignment. Others will sense this shift. They will begin to consult you rather than direct you. They will rely on your judgment. They will offer you responsibility because responsibility now appears safe in your hands. Safety attracts trust. Trust multiplies opportunity. Opportunity multiplied creates wealth. This is why men who adopt value thinking often find their income increasing without negotiation. Their value speaks for them. The mind must be trained nightly to reinforce this identity. Before sleep, the thought must be impressed calmly. I create value wherever I am placed. Repeated without emotion, this thought becomes instruction. Instruction repeated becomes habit. Habit shapes conduct. Conduct produces result. You may notice a quiet satisfaction arising from contribution rather than from compensation alone. This satisfaction is not self-denial. It is self-respect forming. Self-respect attracts confidence. Confidence attracts influence. Influence attracts wealth. This sequence is lawful. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I am a producer of value. My usefulness multiplies results. Opportunity responds to my contribution. My value increases daily. Wealth recognizes me through service. These are not wishes. They are statements of direction. Direction shapes destiny more reliably than desire. As these thoughts settle, the mind releases the limiting belief that effort must always be exchanged directly for pay. You will begin to think in terms of systems, results, and leverage. This shift is the gateway to accumulation. Nothing further is required tonight. The third foundation is now forming. Rest now, knowing that as your mind learns to think in value rather than time, wealth will respond accordingly. The moment a man learns to direct money instead of merely receiving it, he crosses a quiet threshold. On one side of that threshold stands the earner, dependent upon circumstance. On the other stands the accumulator, who shapes circumstance through order. This distinction is rarely taught, yet it governs the difference between comfort and fortune. Money responds to command more readily than to desire. The wealthy man does not ask money where it wishes to go. He assigns it purpose. He directs it calmly, without emotion, and expects it to obey. This expectation does not arise from arrogance, but from understanding law. Money is obedient to order. It resists confusion. Confusion repels accumulation. Many men earn sufficient sums over a lifetime, yet never experience wealth because their thinking is disordered. They treat money as something to be spent, escaped from, or feared. Fear and waste are close companions. Where one appears, the other follows. The millionaire mind views money as a servant. A servant must be given clear instruction. Vague instruction produces waste. Clear instruction produces growth. This clarity must first exist in thought. Before a dollar can be directed outwardly, it must be directed inwardly. A man must know, without doubt, that money is meant to serve his definite purpose. Without purpose, money becomes a burden. With purpose, it becomes leverage. Leverage multiplies effort. I have observed that men who accumulate great fortunes are seldom careless with small sums. This is not because they are fearful, but because they are precise. Precision is respect. Respect attracts obedience. Money obeys the man who respects it. Respect does not mean hoarding. Hoarding is fear disguised as caution. Respect means direction. It means assigning every sum a task, whether large or small. John D. Rockefeller understood this principle early. Long before his fortune reached its height, he accounted for every dollar. This habit was not born of scarcity, but of control. Control gave him confidence. Confidence allowed expansion. Expansion responds to order. The man who spends without plan trains his subconscious to expect chaos. Chaos breeds anxiety. Anxiety clouds judgment. Judgment clouded leads to error. Error reinforces fear. The cycle repeats endlessly. This cycle must be broken. It is broken not through restraint alone, but through authority. Authority over money begins when a man decides that money will no longer drift through his life without instruction. Drift is the enemy of accumulation. The mind that allows money to drift will allow opportunity to drift as well. Drift feels harmless because it requires no decision, yet it slowly robs a man of power. Power is restored through decision. Decision directs money. Directed money grows. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to associate money with purpose rather than impulse. This association alters behavior naturally. You will notice less urge to spend emotionally and more inclination to assign resources deliberately. Deliberation is not slowness. It is clarity. Clarity removes regret. Regret wastes energy. Energy conserved becomes capital. Capital well directed multiplies itself. This principle applies not only to money, but to time, attention, and effort. The millionaire mind treats all resources as valuable. Waste in one area invites waste in another. Order must be comprehensive. Others will notice this order before you do. They will sense that you are not careless, not impulsive, not driven by immediate pleasure. This perception invites trust. Trust opens doors. Men lend money, opportunity, and responsibility to those who demonstrate control. Control invites reward. Many men believe that wealth comes first and discipline follows. The truth is the opposite. Discipline attracts wealth. Wealth follows where discipline has already prepared the ground. Preparation occurs quietly. Each night, when the conscious mind rests, the subconscious reviews the patterns it has been given. If it is trained in order, it produces order. If trained in chaos, it produces chaos. You are now training order. The instruction is simple and must be repeated calmly. Money serves my purpose. This statement, repeated without emotion, becomes assumption. Assumption directs behavior. Behavior shapes outcome. As this assumption settles, you will notice that money-related decisions feel less charged. You no longer rush. You no longer avoid. You consider and direct. This calm is power. Power does not require display. It expresses itself through results. Results accumulate quietly. Others may say you are fortunate. They may say money seems to find you. What they are witnessing is money responding to order. Order is magnetic. Repeat inwardly, without strain. Money obeys direction. I assign purpose calmly. I respect every resource entrusted to me. Order multiplies my means. Wealth responds to control. These are not affirmations of desire. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As you rest now, the mind continues arranging itself around order. Disorder loosens its hold. Precision strengthens. This shift is essential. Without it, earning alone can never produce wealth. With it, even modest means can grow steadily. Nothing further is required tonight. The fourth foundation is set. Rest now, knowing that as your mind learns to direct money rather than chase it, accumulation will become a natural outcome. I have never known a man to accumulate great wealth while remaining undecided. Talent may exist without decision, opportunity may appear without decision, but accumulation never does. Wealth flows toward channels that are firm, not those that hesitate. Decision is the act that opens the channel. Most men do not realize how costly indecision truly is. They imagine that waiting preserves safety, when in fact it preserves poverty. Waiting feeds doubt. Doubt weakens confidence. Confidence weakened repels opportunity. The millionaire mind understands that decision does not guarantee success, but indecision guarantees delay. Delay, repeated often enough, becomes permanent postponement. Permanent postponement hardens into habit. Habit governs destiny. The man who decides quickly does not always decide correctly, yet he gains something far more valuable than temporary accuracy. He gains momentum. Momentum carries a man forward while others remain motionless. Motion clarifies. Clarification corrects error. Correction strengthens judgment. This sequence cannot begin without decision. The wealthy man does not fear error as much as he fears stagnation. He understands that mistakes made in motion can be adjusted, while opportunities missed through hesitation rarely return in the same form. Fear disguises itself as caution. Caution, when excessive, becomes paralysis. Paralysis repels wealth. The mind must be trained to recognize this disguise. I have observed that men who struggle financially often possess ideas equal to those of successful men. What separates them is not imagination, but resolve. They wait for assurance that never comes. The subconscious interprets this waiting as instruction to remain still. Stillness without direction is drift. Drift never produces riches. Decision interrupts drift. Decision declares authority. Authority attracts. Response. Henry Ford decided upon the V8 motor while experts told him it could not be built. He did not argue endlessly with their opinions. He did not seek permission from circumstance. He decided, and then adjusted his course until the decision became fact. Decision preceded proof. Proof followed persistence. This order is universal. The millionaire mind does not demand certainty before acting. It acts in order to create certainty. Action produces information. Information refines judgment. Judgment improves subsequent action. This cycle accelerates progress. Hesitation breaks the cycle before it can begin. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to associate decision with relief rather than fear. Fear once whispered that deciding closed doors. In truth, indecision closes far more. Decision opens one door and closes others. This narrowing creates direction. Direction focuses effort. Focused effort multiplies effect. Effect attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence makes future decisions easier. Thus, decision becomes self-reinforcing. The wealthy man does not revisit decisions endlessly. He decides once, then devotes his energy to execution and adjustment. Adjustment is not retreat. It is refinement. Refinement improves outcome. This is why decisiveness must be trained nightly. During the day, noise interferes. At night, the subconscious accepts instruction without argument. The instruction must be simple and calm. I decide firmly and move forward. Repeated without emotion, this statement becomes assumption. Assumption directs conduct. Conduct shapes destiny. Others sense decisiveness immediately. They trust men who do not waver. They lend support, resources, and opportunity to those who appear certain. Certainty reassures. Reassurance invites cooperation. Cooperation accelerates progress. This is why men who decide promptly often find assistance appearing unexpectedly. Assistance responds to confidence. Confidence responds to repetition. You may notice, even now, a subtle easing of inner tension around choice. Decisions no longer feel like traps. They feel like gateways. This shift is critical. Gateway thinking invites movement. Trap thinking invites avoidance. Avoidance starves ambition. Ambition guided by decision thrives. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I decide calmly and firmly. My decisions create momentum. I adjust without retreat. Opportunity responds to certainty. Wealth flows toward decisive action. These are not bold claims. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As decisiveness strengthens, fear loses relevance. Fear thrives in uncertainty. Certainty starves it. Starved fear retreats. Retreating fear restores clarity. Clarity improves judgment. Judgment applied consistently produces wealth. Nothing further is required tonight. The fifth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as decisiveness replaces hesitation, momentum will carry you where effort alone never could. No man ever rose to great wealth who remained emotionally disturbed by temporary defeat. This is not opinion. It is observation repeated so often that it becomes law. Money responds to steadiness. It withdraws from panic. The mind that reacts violently to loss cannot hold gain when it arrives. The millionaire mind is not free from failure. It is free from fear of failure. Fear of failure is what causes men to abandon opportunity prematurely. It convinces them that a setback is a verdict rather than a lesson. Once the mind accepts that verdict, effort collapses and habit force restores the old condition. Failure is not final unless the mind declares it so. The wealthy man interprets failure differently. He does not dramatize it. He does not identify with it. He observes it, extracts instruction, and proceeds. This emotional neutrality preserves his judgment. Judgment preserved keeps opportunity visible. Opportunity disappears only to the frightened mind. Most men lose more from fear of loss than from loss itself. Fear magnifies damage far beyond its actual measure. A calm mind measures accurately. Accurate measurement prevents despair. Despair is the enemy of accumulation. I have watched men recover quickly from financial setbacks simply because they refused to panic. They adjusted quietly, continued acting, and soon found themselves ahead of where they had been before. Others, shaken by smaller losses, never recovered because they allowed emotion to take command. Command must remain with reason. Reason cannot function where emotion dominates. This is why emotional neutrality must be trained deliberately. It does not arrive by chance. It is cultivated through repetition and understanding. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times without losing his emotional balance. His mind never treated failure as personal. It treated it as procedural. This detachment preserved his confidence and allowed persistence to operate without exhaustion. Exhaustion is emotional before it is physical. Emotional exhaustion comes from resistance. Resistance dissolves when events are interpreted correctly. Interpretation governs reaction. Reaction governs outcome. The millionaire mind understands that money, like all material things, fluctuates. It does not expect a straight line. It expects cycles. Expectation prepares the mind. Prepared minds are not surprised. Surprise invites fear. Expectation invites readiness. Readiness preserves confidence. Confidence attracts opportunity. This sequence must be impressed upon the subconscious until it becomes automatic. Automatic calm is far more valuable than forced courage. Forced courage breaks under pressure. Calm endurance does not. As you listen and rest, the mind is learning to separate emotion from outcome. This separation restores power. Power lies not in avoiding difficulty, but in responding without collapse. You may notice that thoughts of loss no longer carry the same weight. They arise and pass without disturbance. This is the beginning of mastery. Mastery begins when emotion no longer dictates conduct. Conduct, guided by reason, produces consistency. Consistency builds trust. Trust attracts capital, allies, and opportunity. Others will sense this calm immediately. They will notice that you do not panic when conditions change. They will trust you with responsibility because you appear composed. Composure is rare. Rarity attracts value. This is why wealthy men are often entrusted with greater opportunity after setbacks rather than before them. Setbacks reveal character. Character steadiness is currency. You must learn to welcome instruction hidden within adversity. Every difficulty carries information. Information increases competence. Competence builds confidence. Confidence neutralizes fear. Fear neutralized restores clarity. Clarity allows persistence. Persistence ensures eventual success. This chain is unbroken. The man who fears failure interrupts the chain at the beginning. The man who remains calm completes it. At night, when the conscious mind rests, emotional impressions sink deeper. This is why it is essential to impress calm interpretation before sleep. The subconscious will rehearse whatever emotional tone it receives. Feed it calm. Calm produces balance. Balance preserves judgment. Judgment directs action. Action creates wealth. Repeat inwardly, without emotion. I remain calm in all conditions. I learn from every outcome. Temporary loss does not disturb me. My judgment remains clear. Wealth responds to steadiness. These are not affirmations meant to excite. They are instructions meant to settle. Settled instruction is obeyed. As this habit forms, you will notice fewer emotional reactions to money matters. Decisions will feel cleaner. Adjustments will feel manageable. Fear will no longer dictate retreat. Retreat ends accumulation. Advance resumes it. Nothing further is required tonight. The sixth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as emotional neutrality replaces fear, wealth will find a steady place within you. Every fortune ever assembled began as an unseen form. Before money took shape in accounts, property, or enterprise, it existed as a clear image held steadily in the mind of a man who refused to release it. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the workshop in which reality is first constructed. Men who do not understand this treat imagination as idle dreaming. Men who do understand it use imagination deliberately, quietly, and persistently. They do not announce their visions. They rehearse them inwardly until they feel familiar. Familiar images direct conduct. Conduct materializes images. This is the order of creation. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. It responds to images charged with feeling and repetition. This is why imagination must be disciplined. Undisciplined imagination rehearses fear. Disciplined imagination builds fortune. Most men imagine poverty more vividly than wealth. They picture unpaid bills, missed chances, and declining prospects. Night after night, these pictures are impressed upon the subconscious until it accepts them as instruction. Instruction obeyed becomes circumstance. The millionaire mind reverses this process. It selects images deliberately. It pictures order, abundance, movement, and completion. These images are not wild or unrealistic. They are precise enough to guide behavior. Precision strengthens belief. Belief directs action. Action produces result. Edwin C. Barnes held the image of partnership with Thomas Edison long before any evidence existed to support it. He did not know how it would occur. He did not require a timetable. He required only certainty. That certainty directed every choice he made until opportunity recognized him. Opportunity recognizes clarity. Clarity is born of imagination held steadily. The wealthy man does not imagine wealth as escape or indulgence. He imagines it as structure, organized resources serving definite purpose. This image removes guilt, fear, and confusion around money. Money responds best to structure. Structure begins as mental form. As you listen and rest, the mind is being trained to accept wealth images without resistance. You are not forcing belief. You are allowing familiarity to form. Familiarity dissolves doubt. Doubt dissolves opportunity. The images you entertain before sleep sink deeply because resistance is low. The conscious mind no longer argues. The subconscious accepts and rehearses. Rehearsal prepares reality. You may notice that your imagination begins to shift naturally. Instead of worrying about shortage, you find yourself thinking about organization, expansion, and contribution. This is not accident. It is alignment. Alignment directs imagination productively. Productive imagination solves problems before they appear. Problem solving attracts reward. The wealthy man does not wait for opportunity to imagine solutions. He imagines solutions until opportunity appears. This habit places him ahead of circumstance. Circumstance responds to preparedness. Preparedness is mental before it is physical. Others will sense this preparedness instinctively. They will feel that you see farther, think ahead, and consider consequences. This perception invites trust and cooperation. Trust multiplies opportunity. Opportunity multiplied creates wealth. Imagination must be accompanied by calm expectation. Expectation signals readiness. Anxiety signals doubt. The subconscious responds to readiness. Readiness invites action. Action refines imagination. Refined imagination produces clearer outcomes. This refinement occurs nightly through repetition. Repeat inwardly. Without strain. I see wealth as order and purpose. My imagination prepares opportunity. I mentally possess before I receive. Clarity guides my actions. Wealth recognizes my vision. These are not wishes. They are design statements. Design governs construction. Construction follows design. As imagination strengthens, fear weakens. Fear thrives on the unknown. Imagination makes the future familiar. Familiarity removes fear. Fear removed restores confidence. Confidence attracts resources. Resources organized create wealth. This cycle continues. Nothing further is required. Tonight, the seventh foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as your imagination learns to hold wealth calmly and clearly, reality will follow its lead. No man ever accumulates great wealth alone. This truth stands unchanged, no matter the age, the industry, or the fortune involved. Riches are born not from isolated effort, but from organized thought, acting in harmony. The millionaire mind understands this instinctively and seeks cooperation rather than solitary struggle. Most men resist this truth because pride disguises itself as independence. They believe they must carry the entire burden alone. This belief exhausts strength and limits reach. Cooperation multiplies power without multiplying effort. Power multiplied attracts opportunity. The wealthy man does not attempt to know everything. He organizes minds around him that collectively know more than he ever could alone. This organization does not occur by accident. It is designed deliberately and maintained faithfully. Design precedes multiplication. The master mind is not a gathering of bodies, but a coordination of purpose. It exists wherever two or more minds unite in harmony toward a definite end. Harmony is essential. Discord weakens force. Harmony amplifies it. The subconscious responds powerfully to harmony. Harmony creates momentum. Momentum accelerates progress. Andrew Carnegie never built his fortune by attempting to master every detail. He surrounded himself with men whose abilities complemented his own. His genius lay not in knowing everything, but in organizing knowledge effectively. Organization transforms effort into leverage. Leverage expands results. Most men fail to accumulate wealth because they insist on operating alone. Alone, effort is linear. In harmony, effort multiplies. The millionaire mind seeks multiplication. Multiplication requires trust. Trust arises from clarity and steadiness. Others must feel safe uniting their efforts with yours. Safety is communicated through calm certainty. Calm certainty has already begun forming within you. As this certainty strengthens, you will find that capable people are drawn to you. This attraction is not mysterious. It is lawful. Men seek association with those who appear directed and reliable. Reliability invites cooperation. Cooperation produces acceleration. Acceleration shortens timelines. This is why wealthy men often appear to move faster than others. They are not working harder. They are working in organized harmony. Harmony reduces friction. Friction wastes energy. Energy conserved becomes productive force. The mastermind principle operates whether or not a man understands it. Those who do not understand it often find themselves in harmful alliances marked by discord and confusion. Those who understand it choose associations deliberately. Choice governs outcome. The millionaire mind does not seek numbers. It seeks alignment. One harmonious mind is worth more than many divided ones. Division weakens effort. Unity strengthens it. As you listen and rest, the mind is being trained to recognize the value of cooperation without dependence. The mastermind does not remove responsibility. It multiplies effectiveness. Effectiveness attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence strengthens leadership. Leadership draws capable allies. The cycle completes itself. You may notice that you are becoming more selective about whose counsel you accept. This selectivity is not arrogance, it is discernment. Discernment preserves harmony. Harmony preserves momentum. Momentum sustains effort without strain. The wealthy man does not argue with his allies. He aligns with them. He does not compete within his circle. He coordinates. Coordination produces power. Power attracts capital. Capital organized through harmony creates wealth. This law applies even at the level of imagination. A man may form a master mind inwardly by aligning his thoughts with those of great men who have gone before him. When he studies their thinking and adopts their habits, he harmonizes with their influence. Influence travels through alignment. Alignment strengthens resolve. Resolve directs action. Action produces result. As this principle settles, you will notice that opportunities increasingly arrive through people rather than through chance. Introductions occur. Conversations open doors. Alliances form naturally. This is not coincidence. It is the master mind at work. Repeat inwardly, without strain. I attract harmonious cooperation. I align with capable minds. Unity multiplies my effort. Harmony accelerates success. Wealth expands through organized purpose. These are not affirmations of hope. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As the subconscious accepts these truths, it begins arranging encounters and circumstances that support cooperation. You will find yourself in the right conversations at the right times. Timing improves through harmony. Harmony reduces resistance. Resistance delayed wealth. Delay loosens now. Nothing further is required. Tonight, the eighth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as your mind aligns with cooperation rather than isolation, wealth will multiply beyond what effort alone could ever achieve. Every man who has accumulated great wealth has done so not because he avoided difficulty, but because he outlasted it. Persistence is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with enthusiasm or emotion. It operates quietly, often unnoticed, until resistance gives way and progress becomes inevitable. Most men misunderstand persistence. They imagine it as strain or stubbornness. In truth, persistence is calm continuity. It is the refusal to abandon a purpose once it has been accepted by the mind. It does not hurry. It does not argue. It simply continues. Continuity defeats opposition. Opposition thrives on interruption. The man who persists does not expect an unbroken path. He expects delay, revision, and adjustment. Because he expects these things, they do not disturb him. Disturbance is what causes retreat. Retreat ends accumulation. The millionaire mind understands that effort compounded over time produces results far beyond effort expended in bursts. Bursts exhaust. Continuity builds. Continuity shapes habit force. Habit force governs destiny. When persistence becomes habit, success no longer depends upon mood. Mood fluctuates, habit remains. This is why persistence must be impressed nightly, when the subconscious is most receptive. At night, the mind learns whether to continue or to quit. Most men unknowingly rehearse surrender. They lie down reviewing frustrations, imagining obstacles, and convincing themselves that tomorrow can wait. The subconscious accepts this rehearsal and prepares retreat. You are now rehearsing continuation. Continuation instructs habit force to remain active even when enthusiasm fades. This is critical because enthusiasm always fades before results appear. Results appear after resistance weakens. Resistance weakens only when met repeatedly. Repeated effort without panic dissolves opposition. This is why so many men quit just before success. They mistake resistance for failure. In truth, resistance is evidence that progress has begun. Progress disturbs the old condition. The old condition resists replacement. Replacement occurs only when persistence outlasts resistance. I have observed that men who fail often do so within sight of success. They lacked one more act of persistence. That act would have shifted momentum permanently. Momentum once established is difficult to stop. Stopping usually occurs before momentum forms. The millionaire mind is trained to recognize this danger point and move through it calmly. It does not seek encouragement. It relies on principle. Principle does not waver. Wavering dissolves persistence. Persistence solidifies direction. Direction focuses effort. Focused effort multiplies effect. Effect attracts reward. Reward reinforces confidence. Confidence strengthens persistence. Thus, persistence becomes self-sustaining. This is why it must be installed as identity rather than effort. Effort collapses under fatigue. Identity endures. The persistent man does not say, "I will try again." He says, "I continue." This language difference reflects identity. Trying implies uncertainty. Continuing implies decision. Decision anchors persistence. Anchored persistence resists discouragement. Discouragement thrives on doubt. Doubt weakens resolve. Resolve guided by certainty endures. As you rest and listen, the mind is learning to accept continuation as normal. The thought of stopping feels increasingly unnatural. This reversal is the sign that persistence is becoming habit. Habit does not require motivation. Motivation fades. Habit remains. You may notice that you feel less emotional about progress. This is not indifference. It is maturity. Mature persistence does not celebrate each step. It moves. Movement accumulates distance. Distance traveled discourages retreat. The farther a man has come through persistence, the less willing he is to abandon the path. This unwillingness protects success. Protection ensures accumulation. Others will sense this persistence instinctively. They will trust you because you do not vanish when difficulty appears. They will invest in you because you remain steady. Steadiness attracts capital. Capital rewards persistence. This exchange is lawful. Many men believe persistence means repeating the same action blindly. This is error. Persistence means remaining loyal to the purpose while adjusting method as needed. Adjustment refines approach. Refinement improves efficiency. Efficiency accelerates progress. The persistent man does not cling to methods. He clings to purpose. Purpose anchored deeply guides adjustment wisely. Wisdom reduces waste. Waste delays wealth. The millionaire mind persists without bitterness. Bitterness poisons effort. Calm continuation preserves clarity. Clarity ensures correct adjustment. Correct adjustment advances progress. As persistence strengthens, fear weakens further. Fear depends upon uncertainty. Persistence replaces uncertainty with expectation. Expectation stabilizes effort. Effort stabilized accumulates power. Power attracts opportunity. Opportunity met with persistence becomes wealth. Repeat inwardly without strain. I continue calmly. I do not retreat from purpose. Resistance strengthens my resolve. Persistence guarantees success. Wealth yields to continuity. These are not emotional claims. They are acknowledgments of law. Law responds to acknowledgement. As these thoughts settle, the mind releases the illusion that success must come quickly or not at all. Speed is irrelevant. Direction and continuity are decisive. Time favors the persistent. Persistence commands time rather than fears it. Nothing further is required tonight. The ninth foundation is forming. Rest now, knowing that as persistence becomes habit, success is no longer a matter of chance, but of time. There comes a stage in every successful transformation when effort withdraws and identity assumes command. At this stage, the man no longer asks himself whether he thinks like a millionaire. He simply does. Thought, feeling, and action move in harmony without supervision. This is the condition toward which all the previous work has been directed. Wealth, at this level, is no longer a pursuit. It is a response. Men often imagine that success must be defended constantly, guarded against loss, or renewed through force. This belief belongs to those whose gains rest on excitement rather than structure. What has been built through habit force protects itself. Once the subconscious accepts wealth thinking as normal, it resists returning to disorder. Disorder now feels foreign. The man who has reached this stage does not feel pressure to prove himself. Proof was necessary only while identity was uncertain. Certainty removes the need for display. He proceeds quietly, trusting the laws he now understands through experience rather than theory. Experience replaces doubt. Doubt once demanded reassurance. Reassurance is no longer required. You may notice that your relationship with money has changed fundamentally. Money no longer provokes emotion. It does not excite or frighten. It serves. This neutrality is not indifference. It is mastery. Mastery is calm authority. Authority does not announce itself. It is recognized. Others will recognize it in your conduct. They will sense that you are no longer hurried by opportunity, nor intimidated by responsibility. They will feel that you weigh decisions carefully and move without retreat once you decide. This steadiness attracts trust. Trust opens access. Access invites opportunity. Opportunity met with composure produces wealth that endures. As days turn into weeks beyond this point, you may notice that wealth-related thinking arises naturally. Ideas appear without effort. Plans organize themselves. You no longer strain to imagine improvement. Improvement feels inevitable. Inevitability is the final form of confidence. Confidence at this level does not fluctuate with circumstance. It is rooted in trust of self-command. You know that whatever arises, you will respond correctly. This knowledge removes fear of the future. Fear once governed your choices. Now judgment governs them. Judgment guided by calm produces accuracy. Accuracy prevents waste. Waste delayed accumulation. Accumulation now. Proceed steadily. You may also observe that comparison with others fades. Comparison belongs to uncertainty. When identity is settled, attention turns inward to direction rather than outward to measurement. Direction determines destiny. Destiny is not a single event. It is the path you now walk without hesitation. Walking this path does not require constant effort. It requires consistency. Consistency has become ordinary for you. What once felt demanding now feels expected. Expectation governs behavior more powerfully than desire. Desire reaches outward. Expectation assumes inwardly. Assumption directs conduct. Conduct produces outcome. This chain now operates without interference. Others may describe your progress as fortunate or well-timed. They will not see the nights of calm repetition, the discipline of identity, or the steady refusal to retreat that made it inevitable. Inevitability is quiet. Quiet power endures. You may find that rest comes more easily now. Sleep is no longer an escape from strain. It is restoration. A restored mind operates with greater clarity and precision. Precision improves outcome. Outcome reinforces confidence. Confidence stabilizes identity. Identity anchors wealth thinking permanently. Nothing now depends upon willpower. Willpower was a bridge. Habit is the destination. Habit carries you forward even when attention wanders. This is the greatest gift of the millionaire mind. Freedom from constant self-correction. Correction was necessary when thinking was disordered. Order has been established. Established order governs automatically. You are no longer building. Wealth thinking. You are living from it. Living from it feels ordinary. Ordinary consistency reshapes a life more completely than occasional brilliance ever could. You will continue to grow, not because you force growth, but because growth is now aligned with who you are. Alignment removes resistance. Resistance once delayed you. Delay no longer appeals. Proceeding feels natural. As you settle into rest now, there is nothing left to install, nothing left to repair, nothing left to struggle toward. The work has moved beyond instruction and into being. You are no longer rehearsing wealth, you are expressing it. Expression shapes reality effortlessly. Let the night carry these truths deeper without effort. Let the subconscious continue its faithful work. What has been established will not dissolve with waking. It will guide your decisions. It will shape your conduct. It will attract opportunity. It will command wealth. Sleep now, knowing that the mind you carry into rest is the same mind that builds fortunes quietly, steadily, and without retreat. You have entered that mind, and it will carry you forward. This exercise is not designed to excite you. Excitement fades too quickly to shape destiny. It is designed to train you quietly, patiently, and permanently. If followed faithfully, it will rearrange the way your mind relates to money, opportunity, and self-command without effort or force. Begin by lying still, allowing the body to become heavy. Do not attempt to control the breath. Let it slow of its own accord. Stillness of the body invites stillness of thought, and stillness of thought opens the gate through which the subconscious receives instruction. Now, without urgency, recall that wealth is a mental state before it is a material condition. Do not argue with this idea. Do not analyze it. Simply accept it as a working assumption for this exercise. Assumption is more powerful than belief because it does not ask for proof. Picture yourself standing quietly in your own mind, not striving, not reaching, simply standing with certainty. You are not imagining money yet. You are establishing posture. Posture precedes possession. A man who does not stand inwardly cannot hold outward command. As you stand there, feel the difference between tension and firmness. Tension tightens the chest and jaw. Firmness relaxes them. Allow firmness to replace tension. This is the posture of a man who expects results without desperation. Now bring to mind the idea of money, but do not attach emotion to it. Do not picture numbers yet. Simply picture money as a neutral substance, obedient, movable, responsive. You are not chasing it. You are acknowledging it. Say inwardly, without speaking aloud and without strain. Money responds to order. Pause after this thought. Let it settle. Do not repeat it quickly. Repetition is effective only when calm. Now imagine that money in your life has been disordered in the past, not as a failure, but as a condition. Conditions can be changed. Identity directs conditions. You are not condemning the past. You are releasing it. Picture the old pattern loosening its grip without resistance. Resistance strengthens what you wish to remove. Indifference dissolves it. Now imagine money arranging itself calmly around your purpose. You do not need to know the exact form. You are training expectation, not planning detail. Expectation guides behavior automatically. Say inwardly, I direct money calmly. Pause again. Allow the mind to rest. Now imagine a simple scene from your daily life, nothing dramatic. Perhaps you are speaking with someone about work, opportunity, or responsibility. Notice how you feel in this imagined scene. You are not hurried. You are not shrinking. You speak plainly and listen carefully. Others respond differently to you in this scene. They trust your word. They sense composure. They do not rush you. This is not fantasy. This is rehearsal. The subconscious responds to rehearsal as instruction. Now say inwardly, my judgment is trusted. Pause. Next, imagine yourself making a decision related to money or opportunity. It is not perfect. It is simply clear. You decide once. You do not revisit the decision emotionally. You move forward. Notice the relief that follows decision. Relief is the sign that hesitation has been released. Let that relief become familiar. Say inwardly, I decide and proceed. Pause again. Now imagine a small setback, not dramatic, not threatening. Observe how you respond. You do not panic. You do not withdraw. You adjust calmly. The setback passes through you without disturbance. This is the most important rehearsal of all. Wealth avoids the man who collapses under pressure. It moves toward the man who remains steady. Say inwardly, I remain calm in all conditions. Pause. Now imagine yourself at the end of an ordinary day. Nothing extraordinary has happened. Yet you feel satisfaction not from excitement, but from completion. You did what you intended to do. This feeling is self-respect. Self-respect is the true foundation of wealth. Say inwardly, "My word is reliable." Pause. Now, without picturing details, allow a general image of abundance to form. Not excess, not indulgence. Orderly abundance. Enough resources flowing through your life to serve purpose calmly. Do not ask how. The subconscious handles arrangement. Your task is expectation. Say inwardly, "Wealth forms around me naturally." Pause. Now allow all images to soften. Do not force them away. Simply let them fade like a tide receding. What remains is the emotional tone of certainty. Certainty, not excitement, is what you are cultivating. Rest in that tone. If thoughts arise, do not engage them. Engagement reactivates effort. Let them pass. The subconscious continues listening even when the conscious mind wanders. Before sleep claims you fully, repeat these statements one final time, slowly and without emphasis. I think clearly. I act decisively. I remain calm. I create value. I direct money. I persist. Wealth responds. Do not repeat them like a chant. Think of them as acknowledgments. Acknowledgement trains identity. Identity governs behavior. Behavior governs results. Results will follow without being chased. This exercise is not to be done once. It is to be done nightly, especially on evenings when doubt, fatigue, or distraction appear. Those evenings are not obstacles. They are opportunities, because resistance is low. If you fall asleep before completing the exercise, do not resist sleep. Sleep is part of the process. The subconscious continues the rehearsal without your supervision. Do not attempt to measure progress daily. Measurement introduces impatience. Impatience disrupts calm. Calm is the condition under which this exercise works. Within days, you will notice subtle changes. Decisions feel cleaner. Money thoughts feel quieter. Confidence feels steadier. Action feels easier. Within weeks, others will respond differently to you. They will trust your judgment. They will offer opportunity. They will sense that you are no longer ruled by fear or hesitation. This is not coincidence. It is training. Continue this exercise until it feels unnecessary. When it feels unnecessary, it has done its work. Then, allow it to remain as a quiet habit, used when needed, returned to whenever clarity must be restored. Now release the exercise. Let the body rest fully. Let the mind remain open and calm. What you have rehearsed will continue assembling itself while you sleep. You are not forcing wealth. You are preparing yourself to receive it. Sleep now and allow the mind you have trained to continue its faithful work. There is a moment, rarely marked by sound or ceremony, when a man no longer feels the need to urge himself forward. The urging once served a purpose, for without it the mind might have remained idle. But urging is not meant to be permanent. It is a bridge, not a dwelling. You have crossed it. On the other side of that bridge, effort changes its character. It no longer feels like pressure applied from within. It feels like motion arising naturally, the way a river moves once its course has been set. The water does not argue with the land. It follows the channel prepared for it. Your channel has been prepared for a long time, perhaps longer than you realized. You lived with the sense that something essential was unfinished. Even in moments of rest, the mind remained alert, scanning for what was missing, what was delayed, what might go wrong. This alertness was mistaken for responsibility. In truth, it was uncertainty. Uncertainty demands vigilance. Certainty allows rest. Rest is not retreat. It is consolidation. Consolidation is the quiet phase in which strength gathers itself. You are now in that phase. The mind, having been trained repeatedly, no longer resists the idea of order, purpose, or abundance. Resistance was never the mind's natural state. It was learned through confusion and reinforced through repetition. What is learned can be unlearned. What is replaced does not return easily. The old habits of doubt have loosened their hold not through argument, but through neglect. They no longer receive attention. Attention is the nourishment of habit. Withdraw it, and habit fades. In its place stands a different inner posture. It does not feel dramatic. It feels steady. Steadiness is often overlooked because it lacks excitement. Yet it is the foundation upon which everything enduring is built. Endurance does not announce itself. It remains. You may notice that you no longer rehearse explanations for your ambitions. The urge to justify yourself has diminished. This is not indifference to others. It is confidence in direction. A man who knows where he is going does not pause to convince every passerby. Conviction expressed quietly is more persuasive than enthusiasm expressed loudly. Others sense this change even if they cannot describe it. They feel less inclined to challenge you, less inclined to doubt your intentions, more inclined to listen. This response is not commanded. It is invited by presence. Presence is the outward sign of inward order. Order simplifies life. When life is simplified, strength is no longer wasted. Energy, once spent managing inner conflict, is now available for action. Action taken from a place of calm is efficient. It does not overreach. It does not scatter. It moves directly toward purpose. Purpose no longer feels like a distant idea. It feels like orientation. Orientation guides without effort. Effort was once required because direction was uncertain. Uncertainty demanded constant correction. Correction exhausted you. That exhaustion is now lifting. You may feel it as lightness rather than excitement. Lightness is preferable. Excitement burns quickly and leaves fatigue in its wake. Lightness sustains. Sustained movement reshapes circumstance. Circumstance responds gradually, then suddenly. This pattern confuses those who do not understand law. They see the sudden change and call it fortune. They do not see the gradual alignment that made it inevitable. Inevitability does not require haste. It requires consistency. Consistency has taken root within you. You will recognize this not in grand moments, but in ordinary ones. A task begun without resistance, a decision made without prolonged debate, a promise kept without inner negotiation. These small acts are the outward signs of a large inner shift. Great changes announce themselves quietly. You may also find that you are less disturbed by the progress of others. Comparison has lost its urgency. Comparison belongs to uncertainty. When direction is clear, attention turns inward to execution rather than outward to measurement. Measurement is useful only when it informs adjustment. When it breeds envy or discouragement, it becomes harmful. Harmful habits dissolve when they are no longer fed. You are feeding steadiness now. Steadiness nourishes judgment. Judgment refines action. Refined action produces reliable results. Reliability is the currency of 10. Trust. Trust attracts opportunity. Opportunity met with composure becomes wealth, influence, and security. Security, in its true sense, is not the absence of challenge. It is confidence in response. You no longer fear what you will do when faced with difficulty. You know you will respond correctly. This knowledge removes dread of the future. Dread once consumed much of your mental energy. It disguised itself as preparation. Preparation guided by fear is inefficient. Preparation guided by confidence is effective. You are now preparing through habit rather than through worry. Habit is the mind's way of conserving effort. Effort conserved strengthens endurance. Endurance carries you through periods when enthusiasm wanes. Enthusiasm always wanes. Habit remains. Because habit remains, progress continues even when attention drifts. This is the greatest advantage a man can possess. Forward movement that does not depend upon constant motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Identity is dependable. Identity has now been shaped. As days pass, you may forget the details of how this shaping occurred. You may no longer recall the words that guided you or the repetitions that trained you. This forgetting is not loss, it is success. When a lesson has been absorbed, the mind releases the instruction. Instruction has done its work. What remains is expression. Expression does not require effort. It flows. You will express calm authority in conversation. You will express decisiveness in action. You will express patience under strain. These expressions will feel natural because they are now aligned with who you are. Alignment is the end of inner struggle. Inner struggle once drained you more than outer effort ever could. Its absence restores vitality. Vitality does not demand constant motion. It allows choice. Choice exercised calmly shapes destiny. Destiny is not something that arrives unexpectedly. It unfolds as a series of responses to conditions. Your responses have changed. Therefore, your destiny must change as well. This change does not need to be announced. It will be recognized. Others will recognize it when they rely on you, when they offer you responsibility, when they seek your judgment. You may notice that these invitations come without fanfare. They arrive naturally. Natural arrival is the mark of readiness. Readiness does not feel like anticipation. It feels like steadiness. Steadiness allows rest. As you rest now, there is nothing left to pursue mentally. The pursuit has given way to occupancy. You are occupying the mental state that once felt distant. Occupancy changes perspective. From this perspective, past struggles appear instructive rather than painful. They are seen as necessary steps rather than mistakes. This reinterpretation dissolves regret. Regret binds energy to the past. Release frees it for the present. Freed energy strengthens focus. Focus directs effort. Effort applied consistently produces results that endure. Enduring results do not require constant defense. They stand on structure. Structure has been built. What has been built will support you. You need not watch over it anxiously. Vigilance belongs to fragility. Strength rests confidently. Rest now, not as escape, but as continuation. Continuation does not require awareness. It proceeds quietly. Let the night carry this steadiness deeper. Let the subconscious continue arranging thought, impulse, and response without supervision. It has been trained well. Training does not reverse itself easily. What you have become will remain, not because you force it, but because it feels right. Rightness is the ultimate confirmation. Sleep now in that rightness. You are not waiting for change, you are living from it, and what lives from within will shape everything that follows, calmly, steadily, and without retreat. There is a point in every man's inner development where striving gives way to certainty, and certainty gives way to quiet command. This point does not announce itself with emotion or excitement. It arrives without noise, like a solid foundation discovered beneath shifting ground. You are standing upon it now. When a man reaches this point, he no longer measures progress by feeling. Feeling once served as a guide when direction was unclear. Now direction exists independent of mood. Action proceeds even when emotion is absent, and rest occurs without guilt. Guilt belonged to conflict. Conflict has ended. You may notice that the mind no longer rushes ahead into imagined futures, nor circles endlessly around past events. It rests where it is, attentive but untroubled. This presence is not passivity. It is readiness without strain. Strain was never strength. Strain was misdirected effort. Effort aligned with law does not strain. Law now governs your conduct. You have learned, through repetition rather than argument, that force is inferior to direction. Direction does not press. It leads. Once the mind accepts direction, movement follows naturally. Natural movement does not fatigue the spirit. Fatigue arose when the mind resisted itself. Resistance dissolves when identity settles. Identity has settled. You may feel this settlement as a reduction in inner noise. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer demand immediate response. You observe them, choose among them, and proceed. This choice is the essence of self-command. Self-command does not require vigilance. It requires alignment. Alignment maintains itself. Others may sense that you are less reactive than before. Situations that once provoked explanation or defense now pass without disturbance. This is not withdrawal. It is composure. Composure is strength held in reserve. Reserve is the mark of readiness. A man with reserve is never desperate. Desperation once distorted your judgment. It urged haste, avoidance, or compromise. That urgency has faded. Decisions are now made from consideration rather than impulse. Impulse fades when certainty rises. Certainty rests on experience. Experience has taught you that persistence works, that order attracts opportunity, and that calm outlasts resistance. These lessons no longer need repetition. They have been absorbed. Absorption is the final stage of learning. Once absorbed, truth expresses itself automatically. You will express it in the way you speak, measured, deliberate, unhurried. You will express it in the way you listen, attentive, patient, discerning. You will express it in the way you act, decisive without aggression, steady without delay. These expressions will feel ordinary to you. They will feel significant to others. Men are drawn to those who appear settled within themselves. Settlement communicates safety. Safety invites trust. Trust opens paths that effort alone cannot clear. Paths open quietly. Quiet openings endure. You may find that opportunities arise without announcement. A conversation shifts. A responsibility is offered. An idea is received favorably. These moments will not feel miraculous. They will feel appropriate. Appropriateness is the signature of alignment. Alignment eliminates surprise. Surprise once triggered fear. Fear no longer commands. Because fear no longer commands, imagination no longer rehearses disaster. It now rehearses order. Order feels familiar. Familiarity breeds confidence. Confidence expressed quietly is the most persuasive force a man can possess. You do not need to prove that confidence. Proof invites challenge. Quiet confidence disarms challenge before it forms. This is why argument feels unnecessary now. Argument belonged to insecurity. Insecurity dissolves when identity stabilizes. Stability has replaced it. You may notice that time itself feels different. Hours pass with less friction. Days feel purposeful without being crowded. This is not because life has slowed, but because resistance has diminished. Resistance once consumed energy without producing progress. Progress now occurs with less effort. Effort reduced does not reduce results. It refines them. Refinement is the mark of mastery. Mastery does not seek applause. It seeks continuity. Continuity has become natural to you. You will continue not because you must, but because stopping would feel unnatural. The path beneath you is firm. Walking it does not require constant awareness. Awareness was needed during formation. Formation is complete. What remains is use. Use expresses structure. Structure supports growth. Growth guided by structure is stable. Stability allows expansion without collapse. Collapse was once feared because foundations were uncertain. Foundations are now sound. You trust them because you have tested them through repetition and response. Trust in self-command removes anxiety about the future. The future no longer appears as a threat to manage. It appears as a field to enter calmly. You do not need to see the entire field to take the next step confidently. Confidence in the next step is sufficient. Sufficiency quiets the mind. Quiet allows rest. Rest restores clarity. Clarity prepares. Action. Action taken from clarity produces results that reinforce identity. Identity now reinforces itself. This is the stage beyond effort. You are not maintaining change. You are living from it. Living from it does not require reminders. It proceeds naturally. As you rest now, let the body settle without instruction. Let the breath find its own rhythm. Let thought drift without engagement. There is nothing left to monitor. Monitoring belonged to uncertainty. Certainty rests. Rest is now safe. Nothing within you needs guarding. Nothing requires correction. What has been built will hold. What holds will support all that follows. Sleep now in this assurance. You are not preparing for what you will become. You are continuing as who you are, and who you are now moves forward quietly, steadily, and without retreat.